What's up, guys? Leland here with Bottom Table Tyrants, and today I have 5 tips for players playing Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. If you want more content like this, please make sure to subscribe. Also, if you like to get stuff from DriveThruRPG like I do, we want to let you know that they are one of our new affiliate links down in the description. So if you need some new products from DriveThruRPG, use our link and it really helps out the channel. Thanks. All right, tip number 1 for players playing Dragons of Stormwreck Isle is going to be talk to the NPCs. I know that sounds simple, but I promise you this is important. We want you to ask the NPCs about themselves. Also, I want you to tell them about yourself, because there's 2 factors here. A, this isn't a if this then this type of conversation that you have with like just the drop down box of replies that you have in, say, Skyrim or something like that. This is a living person who's the GM, who's sitting across from you, who can answer questions, who can tell you about this place, tell you about these people. And I promise you, they want you to get to know their NPCs. It's a great way for them to help you out during the adventure. It's a great way to get you invested in the story. And so asking them questions, just literally talking with them, befriending them as a person, talking to another person. This isn't a video game you're playing. This is a person you're having a conversation with. So don't be afraid to tell them about yourself, because that's going to help you develop the character that you are and get more intimate and know who you are as a character. So you're this hill dwarf cleric, and you know, what has been your past? Tell them about your history, because this gives little nuggets, little pieces of ammunition to that GM that they can use later in that session. They can use, you know, months later in the campaign for things that you've explained to them, so that they know about this character. They know what he's afraid of. They know what their past is, stuff like that. So don't be afraid to talk to the NPCs. Number 2, there are many ways to approach places and problems. What do I mean by that? Stormwreck Isle is an island. There's so many ways to get around an island. You could paddle around in the paddle boat. You could, and I don't feel like I'm giving you, you know, this isn't a spoiler here. It's literally in the name of the adventure that it's Stormwreck Isle. So, you know, this is an island that you can go around the coastline. You can cut right across the island. And I encourage you to use all these different modes of travel. Don't always go the same route to different places. Use the boat that is there. Use your ability to walk around the island. There's so many things to find and encounter on this place that your GM wants to vary this up. They want you to see these things. So be descriptive with how you want to travel around the island, and your GM's going to work with you and, you know, show you new regions, and don't be afraid to change it up. If you walked across the island last time, then make sure you use the rowboat the next time, stuff like that. When approaching problems, there's a lot of ways of solving one problem. And combat is not always the answer. That's the first thing. Hitting it with your sword is not always the answer, guys. So don't be afraid of huddling up with your players when you run into an issue, if you run into a problem, and coming up with a plan. You can do this quickly, or to be honest, a lot of times I like to say timeout, because my GM will kind of say, hey guys, are you really going to huddle up and try and figure this out while in the middle of a fight? You got a bunch of orcs breathing down on you. You don't have time to do this. So don't be afraid to say, hey, can we take a bathroom break? Take a timeout, Zach Morris style, and then go talk it out. I would love it as a GM if during the smoke break / bathroom break / snack break we take regularly, every about hour, 2 hours that I give my players, if they sat down and came up with a plan to tackle the issue they're currently dealing with, instead of just talking about, like, you know, how work sucks and how, you know, oh, this is that new crypto I'm going to buy, something like that. Like, instead they're invested in the game and they're talking about it, coming up with a plan for the problem. I would love that. So don't be afraid to call for a timeout, take a snack break, take a smoke break, huddle up with your players around, you know, out on the front porch or something, come up with a plan, then you come back to the table and execute. Your GM is going to help you execute that plan. If my players have a plan, I'm going to try to help them, you know, accomplish it. Now, they may roll crap and it might go, you know, all awry, but that's part of the fun too. But I'm going to try and help them accomplish the plan that they set out to do. All right, guys, number 3, combat isn't always the answer. Don't be afraid to talk it out. And what do I mean by that? Monsters you may not be able to talk to, but if it's a person, especially if you don't know if that person is actually, against you or going to attack you, then maybe you talk it out. Maybe you could have a better outcome than just a combat that gets you hurt, or maybe loses a character. Maybe you gain an ally by talking it out with this person who was kind of a neutral person. They maybe have been against you. They may have been for you. It all was how you interacted with them. So don't go straight to combat every single time. Second, if things are going bad in a combat, it's okay to take that wizard who's unconscious and he's out of spell slots anyways, throw him over your shoulder as the fighter and head back to Dragon Rest. Get you some rest, take a long rest, spend the night, wake up the next day and try it again. So don't be afraid to pull out, flee, get out of that combat, go back to Dragon Rest, reset, and do it again. That leads to number 4, short rests and long rests. When you're out on the island away from Dragon Rest, you can take short rests. That gives you hit dice to replenish your HP. For different characters, that's going to let you get some of your spell slots back. In some instances, I think they only have a wizard here, so he needs a long rest, which means you need to go back to Dragon Rest. But it can at least help you rest up. Maybe you have your spell slots, but you've taken some hits and you need that HP back. Don't be afraid to use those short rests. To me, I usually say it takes 15 to 30 minutes, not a full hour, but that's just me personally. But again, if you're on the island away from danger, you should be able to get that short rest done. And then when you're back at Dragon's Rest, talk to the NPCs. Maybe they have some hints for you on how to deal with that monster you're having trouble with. Maybe they have some spell potions or something they prepared for you while you were gone that can help you out with that monster you're having trouble with. Stuff like that. The GM's going to help you out. They're going to give you tips and tricks. They're going to try and, set you up for success for when you head back out into the adventure. Last one, number 5, don't be afraid to do things that aren't on your character sheet or that you're not good at. That's probably the second part of this. I play a goblin fighter, and because I can actually hit pretty hard even as a goblin fighter, I usually spend the first few rounds letting my other player characters and get involved in the combat and have some fun, because I can take out monsters with a few good chops. So and I guess this is in the Pathfinder module where you can hit multiple times, but I'm so proficient at it that I can roll like a 10 or less sometimes and still get a hit because of the combat modifiers that I have on there. But I guess the point is that I have fun during combat, at least for the first few rounds. If player characters start going down and we need to get serious, I'll get serious and whip out my dog slicer sword and start doing some damage. But until then, I get my chain and my a grappling hook, and I usually try and mount and ride whatever monster it is we're currently playing with in the game, because that's part of my character's background, is he is proud of all the different monsters that he has successfully ridden, from minotaurs to giant lizards to other human characters and things like that. He enjoys this like trying to lasso and ride around on his enemies. That's just kind of one of his challenges that he has given himself, and he kind of boasts about this in towns and stuff like that. So he's the monster rider, and that's kind of his thing. So I always say my mantra is throw poop and ride things with him, because I throw poop as a goblin. That's just the thing I do. It's gross, I get it, but the thing that I'm trying to do, and even the GM will be like, Leland, you realize that that's not going to do any damage, and I go, no, but I'm gonna love it. So it's just one of those, like, it's me having fun in combat. I'm role playing during combat. I'm not really a role player at the king's ball and interacting with the princess and stuff like that. I like to role play in combat by jumping up on the chandelier and swinging around and fighting from up on the chandelier, things like that. I try and interact with the terrain that's around me, and I try to interact with the enemies that we're fighting, either through banter. Think of it like Spider-Man, how he always kind of has this banter, taunting, teasing his enemies. If they miss me, they're going to hear about it, stuff like that. So interact, talk with those enemies that you're fighting, because I promise your GM's going to like that. They want you as integrated as you can into combat. If they see you're enjoying it, they're going to keep going. They're going to let you enjoy that combat. They're going to help you enjoy that combat. Second part of this is, if you're not good at it, that doesn't mean you can't do it. If you don't have a high wisdom skill, or let's say dexterity, you have a -1 for dexterity, that doesn't mean that you can't do dexterity things. If you want to do, a cartwheel and try and pick up your sword and then throw it at something, it might be a tough roll. It might need like a 17 or something, but you just have a -1. That's no big deal. If you roll an 18, you still hit the 17. If you roll a 19, 20, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to try hard things. Just because you're not proficient in it doesn't mean you can't do it. And I promise you, if anything, as the GM, when I'm setting those DCs in my brain, if they're doing a cool thing, that 17 becomes a 15 or a 14 because I want them to hopefully accomplish it. So I'm increasing the odds that they're going to be able to do that cool thing that they do. And I promise you, the excitement of getting to do the thing, if he says, okay, you're going to do that, but it's going to take a 15 on the roll, and then you roll that 17 or 18, the whole table will usually cheer with you. So because they knew it was hard, you already had a -1 at it, but you accomplished it, even though you weren't proficient in it. If anything, you were kind of bad at it. So don't be afraid to do things that you're not great at or that aren't on your character sheet. I promise it's more fun, and it opens up your creativity. Don't limit yourself to just the things you're good at on that character sheet. I know you can do anything you want. Just be creative and have fun. All right, thanks guys. That's my 5 things for new players who are playing Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. If you loved it, please let me know in the comments below. If you didn't love it, please let me know in the comments below. I want your feedback. I want to know if you have other ideas. Maybe you have something better in here. Please put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. That's all I got for today, guys. We love you. Leland out.